Hey everyone, welcome back to Girl Talk. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we get started, if you could give me a like, share, a thumbs up, and comment, I would so appreciate it. You guys are awesome as always. So, lately we've been talking about narcissistic people and whether that be, the people in trials or in real life or ex husbands. Um, I don't think that a lot is said about what if it's a parent who is toxic? What if it's a parent who is the narcissist? And the backstory on this, and I think the reason that is so important to talk about was because when I was growing up, you didn't talk about it. Um, Again, as I said before, it was a different time. Parents were strict. We had respect for our parents. We didn't question them. Um, what they said went, and we just knew better than to even think about, questioning anything that they said. Um, and you didn't ask questions. You were just, you just didn't. Um, and also, I think in that time, you didn't get divorced. You stuck it out and you were miserable. And the ring and the piece of paper just meant that you were together forever, whether you liked it or not. And fortunately, my parents did get divorced when I was 12. And normally, when um, parents get divorced, the kids are bummed out and they're depressed and um, sad about it. Me, on the other hand, I was thrilled. Honestly, I was happy about it because I knew that my mom had been unhappy for a very long time. And what had happened was they had worked at the same place and they actually went on different shifts so that one of them could always be at home. And I think I kind of told on my dad. I felt bad about it before, but I don't now. Um, but it was kind of weird and kind of shady how it all went down. So get ready for some drama. So I would come home from school and um, they did swing shifts. So it was day shift 3 to 11 and then 11 to 7. And they would keep switching like that. But again, somebody was always there with me. And when my mom would work 3 to 11, my dad would be day shift. So around 6, 7 o'clock every night, the phone would ring and I would answer it most of the time. And this lady would ask for my dad by his first and last name. I didn't think anything of it. And this kind of kept going on. And then it became an everyday thing. And then I told my mom. I didn't think I told her anything I wasn't supposed to. Nobody told me not to say anything, which I would have told her anyway, honestly. Um, but long story short, um, guess who was screwing around? And guess who dropped the bomb? Whoops. So anyway, um, that happened, and they had divorce and things like that. And my dad actually ended up marrying that lady who I guess you can call her my stepmother. If you really want to get technical, I prefer not to, but I guess if we have to be diplomatic about it, that's what we'll call her. Um, but my mom became cool And when I say that, I don't mean that she let me do whatever I wanted to. She didn't, believe me. We still had rules and everything else, but it was just different. And she was, you could tell that she could finally breathe. And I think for a long time she had walked on eggshells as well. And I just never realized it. I was too little to know. Um, but she became cool. So it ended up that um, I had gone for visitation and things like that. And he actually moved right up the road, which was kind of a dick move to do to my mom. That's what I thought anyway, but whatever. Um, and it ended up that me and my mom, a few years later, we were butting heads. And I was a teenager and I was going through my own stuff, the normal teenage stuff. And I wasn't allowed to hang out with friends or, I wasn't allowed to go in a car. I was only 14 at the time. And so I moved in with my dad for a few months. And at first I thought it was great because I got to hang out with friends. And I had a sister who was my age in the same grade. And um, we lived in the country, so there weren't a lot of kids to play with. There weren't a lot of kids to hang around with. So it was really neat to kind of just be around people my age. And then things went south. I got blamed for a lot of things that I never did. I got blamed for things I didn't do. And when I say that, at the time, and I know this is bad, I shouldn't have started smoking at an early age, but I did. My stepsister also smoked. And if you know anything about smoking, which I hope you don't, you either smoke menthol or you smoke non-menthol. You don't do both. It's common sense, right? And my stepmother had also smoked. Well, she went through our drawers and found a pack of Marlboro and found a pack of Newport. One is menthol, one is non-menthol. I got the blame for both. One was mine, one was not. And little things like that just kept happening. And it really wasn't me who was doing it. Everything got blamed on me, but her kids did no wrong. And the one night, me and my stepsister, we had to share a room, and I overheard my dad, my stepmother, and my oldest stepsister talking about me. And I'm like, screw this. I'm done. And I didn't call my mom. I called my brother. And I'm crying. And I said, can you come and get me? And he was like, I'll be right there. It took him about 10 minutes. And when he came in, and you have to understand the relationship between him and my dad. Very long story short, and a side note, my dad had adopted him, but it was an ugly, ugly relationship. I mean, it was toxic. My dad was very, very abusive, physically abusive to my brother. And when my brother came through those doors, I was terrified because honestly, I'm thinking, holy shit, there is going to be a fight. And for once, my dad is not going to win this one. And honestly, my dad just sat there. It was stepmother who opened her mouth, which that didn't go well either, but whatever. But we left, and I stayed with my brother for the weekend. Keep in mind, we never told my mom. So, so my mom didn't know where I was. And um, at the end of the weekend, we kind of went to my mom's, me and my brother, and she had found out from my uncle because my dad didn't know where I was either. And my dad called my uncle, who would be my mom's brother, and asked if I was there. And my uncle called my mom and he's like, do you know where your kids are? And she's like, what are you talking about? So they're driving around, they're looking for us. In the meantime, we somehow crossed paths and ended up at my mom's. And then she came and saw us, that we were at her house. And I ended up moving back home. And after that, I did not go for visitation anymore. It was so toxic. I knew I wasn't welcome there. And honestly, I didn't want to go because no matter what I would have done, it wouldn't have been good enough. Um, Everything would have got blamed on me. And like I said, I knew I was not welcome there. So why bother? Um, it just wasn't worth my time. And I guess in hindsight, it wasn't worth his either. And he didn't fight my mom on it. So honestly, it wasn't, I was at the age where they couldn't make me go anyway. So we kept in touch every now and then, birthdays, holidays, Christmas, things like that. But I didn't see him on a regular basis. And the reason for that was he said he wanted to keep the peace. The thing of it is, who did he want to keep the peace with? It wasn't me. It wasn't my mom. He wanted to keep the peace with his wife. And here's the funny thing about that. And it took me many, many years later to figure this out. How pathetic can one be to be jealous of a 14-year-old? Sounds like a personal problem to me, but now she made it my problem. So he's still keeping the peace to this day, which, that's fine with me because honestly, I don't want him back in my life. He is toxic to me. And now at this stage of my life, he would be invading my peace. And that will never happen. I will not allow it. I'm not that 14-year-old little girl anymore. So we'll put that out there. And that goes for him and his wife. And that's what I think about that. But anyway, to keep going. So when I got married, I had invited him to the wedding, but because my brother was, he was my protector, and like I said before, he was 7 years older than me, so he was my father figure and things like that. And my brother actually walked me down the aisle, and at the reception we had a pig roast, and it was in like I said, we live in a small town and, country and things like that. And we actually had it in a field. And the whole time that I was at my wedding, I'm thinking, oh my God. Now, keep in mind, my family are big drinkers, and my ex-husband's family are big drinkers. And the only thing I could think about the whole time at the reception was, okay, so my brother's going to get trashed. My dad's going to get trashed. Stepmommy was not invited, by the way. Um, and they're going to be beating the shit out of each other in the middle of the baseball field. That's the only thing I was worried about. So, so I did say to my brother, I'm like, listen, please, please, please. I don't care if you beat the crap out of them. You deserve it. But please do it tomorrow. Please don't ruin my day. And everything was fine. And, I overreacted as usual. But that was pretty scary. And later, I would go to the store and I would see my dad and everything. And the funny part about that is, I look like him, which kind of sucks. Um, the only thing that I really got from my mom were, thankfully, her eyes. But every time that I'd see him at the store, he'd put his nose up in the air at me when he talked to me. And I'm thinking, buddy, we both got that same pointy nose. I can put my nose up in the air too. Um, and it was just to the point, it's like, you know what? I don't even want to talk to you. I don't. Like, just let me do my grocery shopping and get away from me. We have nothing to talk about. We have nothing in common. And he would stop in when I was married. He would stop in around Christmas time and give us a card. So once a year, we knew that we were getting that visit. And I always told my ex-husband, I'm like, I don't care what you have to do. You are not leaving me in a room with him by myself. And believe it or not, my ex-husband did not leave me. But he would talk to my ex-husband while I sat there. We just had nothing to talk about. And what really got me was, even when, my daughter was there and this was his granddaughter, never once did he say, would you mind if I take her for ice cream? He never tried to get to know her. And it was hurtful, but it also kind of made me very angry. And looking back on it, I'm kind of grateful that he didn't ask, because the toxicity that was put on me, I would have never, ever allowed him to put on my daughter. And I can 100% guarantee you that stepmommy would have never been around my daughter. It's bad enough that she was jealous of me and the way that I was treated. But if she would have treated my daughter like that, or that her other granddaughter was better than my daughter, yeah, no, we were not going to play that game. So thankfully, we didn't even have to do that. So, a lot of people ask about him. And honestly, I don't know what to tell them. I don't know anything about him. I don't want to know. Like I said, at this stage of the game, if he would try to get a hold of me, and he actually did a few years ago, he wouldn't call my mom, but he actually reached out to my ex-mother-in-law and asked for my phone number, and she gave it to him. Why, I have no idea. The phone went unanswered. It's not going to get answered. like I said, now it's not his peace that he's protecting. I'm protecting mine. And I can promise you my peace is way more valuable than his. So when I say that, and we're going to come full circle here, um, when my daughter, um, when I got married, my ex-husband had raised my daughter. Um, and for some reason, he always, I don't want to say always, but he, later in years, he respected her. And he didn't respect me. And he didn't respect a lot of women. But unfortunately, I got to give credit, and I don't want to, and it's making me cringe. But he did respect her. And there was a situation that happened. I won't get into it. But a situation that happened where his family wanted nothing to do with it because they didn't have the um, balls or the time, or call it what you will, to deal with his nonsense. Nobody stepped up except my daughter. His mother didn't. His own children didn't. His brother didn't. His sister didn't. Nobody stepped up except my daughter. The only reason that he is here is because of my daughter. Yet the family kind of forgot about that. But I haven't, and I won't. And I know that makes me sound bitter, but here's the thing. Do what you want to me. I don't care. I could care less. But when you do it to my kid, now you made it personal. And now I will be relentless. You don't go after my daughter. And you don't shun my daughter after she did what you didn't have the guts to do. That's on you. It's not my problem that you didn't want to deal with him. And yet she did anyway. Since that has happened, and since that situation has occurred, it has been 2 years. Actually, I think it's going on 3 since he has talked to my daughter. And again, I feel like it's coming around full circle because kind of the same thing that happened to me had happened to her. And the reason that I tell you this story, and I know it was kind of long and really drawn out, but I had to tell you all of that because I want to be careful here, and I'm taking a breath, so bear with me. We are taught to respect our parents. We're taught not to question. That is coming from the time when I grew up and the era where I grew up. But as I said before, times have changed. And I look at it this way. And it took me a long time to be able to close that chapter of my life with my dad. And I'm hoping that it doesn't take that long for my daughter to be able to close that chapter. And if she's listening, this is the only advice that I can give her or anyone else. Does it hurt? Of course it does. We can put on a good front, right? We can sit there and you can be the strongest person in the world. And it hurts. It does. But then you go through the grief stages, then you get angry, and then you accept it, right? So finally accepted it. And my thoughts now, later on, and after all that was done, is this: they missed out, both of them. My dad missed out on me growing up. He missed out on a wonderful, wonderful granddaughter. He missed out watching me go into adulthood and go through life and go through things. Um, he missed out on just so many things that um, I don't feel are really owed to him anyway. So it's his loss. It's not mine. It's his. Really, what did I miss out on him? This is a guy, and this I'm talking about my father now. This is a guy that if he would we didn't go on vacations when I was younger. Um because, if we went 20 miles up the road, you might as well pack a bag. So, he's a homebody. That's all he's doing. So what am I really missing out on? Not a lot. And he wasn't one of those, feelings type of people, never said I love you, this and that. So really, yeah, I didn't miss out on much, but he did. And that's on him. And at some point, you know, I he will have to answer to that. I won't. Um and as for my daughter, she's actually a nurse, and I'm so super proud of her. And she's on her own, and she's doing her own thing. And both of them, whether it be my ex-husband or my own father, they're missing out on her. And we talk about revenge and karma, and I feel that I'm a firm believer that life gives us what we hand out. And, if you're going to throw away things that are supposed to be valuable to you, um, you're getting what you deserve. This is their karma. They made this decision. We did not make it. I didn't make that decision. When it came to my dad, it wasn't that I made the decision of, hey, I'm going to keep the peace in the family. He made that decision. With my daughter and my ex-husband, she did try to reach out to him. He's the one that chose not to reach back out. So I tell you all of that. And like I said, I apologize for being kind of long-winded and all over the place. It's not something I usually talk about. I put it kind of in back of my head, and I left it there. I closed that book a long, long time ago. And but I guess the moral of the story here, if you stuck with me this far, sorry guys, was, you know, the best revenge is no revenge, and life will get them sooner or later on its own, and it did. They missed out on 2 lives. They can't get that back. But the one thing that I can say, and that my mom can say, we were there. We saw the joys, we saw the accomplishments, we saw the tears, we saw the hard times, we saw the good times. We were there and we got to witness that. They didn't. So, um, I just hope that if you've ever grown up with a parent that was toxic, I hope that you make peace with it. Don't hold that in and don't hold on to it. Um, don't hold on to that hurt because it's not worth it. It really isn't. And I know that it's heart-wrenching. It really is. And you wonder how a person, can just be thrown away at the drop of a hat. We're not talking about a piece of trash here. We're talking about a human being that you either made or that you raised. And the fact that you can walk away and not think twice, that shows your character way more than it will ever show mine. And that's on you, and that's on you to deal with. And that is for them to answer for someday. They don't need to answer to me. They don't need to answer to my daughter. But I do believe that they will have to answer to a higher power one day. And that's between them and God. So if you're there, stay strong, guys, and find your peace and let it go. Don't hold on to it because it will eat you alive and it's not worth it. I hope you all have a great day and we will see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.